Okay? No.
Mr. Light, am I allowed to eat some potatoes?
No.
But there are some chicken. The chicken has protein.
It's not the protein I'm worried about.
About
Vegetables. Saturated fats. High fructose corn syrup. Maybe it has it, maybe it doesn't. You never know. Do you start looking for high fructose corn syrup? Gracias. Allí, está bien. Mil gracias. I think books always help. I would also say, what's the worst thing in the world that will happen if you bring a book and we don't use it?
Mr. Wright, can we eat fruit snacks?
Fruit snacks? What do you mean?
Like gummy made of fruit.
You could eat
Without sugar.
like dry, like if you dehydrate fruit and make like fruit chips, like naturally, yeah, fine. But you would have to make that. You can't buy it manufactured. All right, hi, welcome. I'll just start for those of us who are ready. Universal truth. So that is a picture of the universe? Not really. It's actually just one very small part of a picture that the Hubble telescope took. All of those little dots you see are galaxies. Okay, so they're galaxies like the Milky Way. Like we live in a solar system, and then a solar system within a galaxy. So the galaxy is super, super big, right? So this is a picture of all of those little dots are galaxies. And again, this is about probably, if you look up into the sky, probably like that much room. Okay, so looking up at the night sky, looking through that, and you go on for eternity, that's the amount of galaxies that are in just that little space of sky. Okay, so universal means big, like a universal thing. So universal truth is a little bit different than a social issue. Social issue is something that affects everybody. A universal truth is something true about that issue. Like a universal truth is that we are all born, right? All of us are born. Okay, all of us have. All of us have a mother and a father. They may not be living, but all of us required a mother and a father to be here in this classroom. And all people who are considered Homo sapiens sapiens were all born. And where's a human clone? Okay. Well, then I would disagree with you there. If you're going to start counting other things, there are bacteria and stuff that are not born. They are split. So there are one cell, and then they turn, and then they become something else. Worms, if you chop a worm in half, it now becomes probably two worms on some level. Okay, so not everything is born. Okay, not everything is, so no. But all humans and all mammals are born. Okay, so what we want to do is there are times where we want to grow this idea. So starting with that, first the struggle of the character. That's one small piece. Okay, then thinking about that struggle and viewing it and going, hey, I think a lot of people deal with that. That's a second step. That's that social issue. And then the third step then is if you can kind of pull from that, what is a universal truth about this thing? Okay, so for example, reading in our flying solo, I kind of go back to Sean. Okay. Ah, sí, gracias. Sí, en esa mesa está bien. Gracias. Ahora esa. We first have to read, pay attention. If you're not paying attention to struggles, much like if you're not paying attention to this lesson, it's going to be a struggle for you to do it. So some of you struggle with paying attention. So I wonder what that social issue is. Is that social issue means that you distract yourself too much with stuff outside of here, and that you're too distracted to even focus for 10 minutes? That could be a social issue, now that I think about it. Why are you all interrupting me? Is that a social issue? The ability to not have to sit and listen and not be interrupt someone and let them finish so that maybe they talk about everything? What is going on with all of us sitting at desks? You're sitting with your book club? I asked you to sit with your book club on the learning area. You will be working with your book club during this time. Alright, so when does a character struggle? How do they react to that struggle? What does that struggle mean about a social issue? And can you define any universal truths about that issue? Or can you take any universal truths out of it? So for example, Sean struggles. Sean reacted to waking up without dirty clothes. He didn't really react to it. Right? He was just like, yeah, okay, this is a Tuesday. right, or a Friday. So he's used to it. So his non-reaction, is something. It means something. It means that he's used to it. He's used to the struggle of not having clean clothes. He's used to the struggle of his father not being around and not being present. He's used to this struggle. Okay? So that means something. His non-reaction means something. And how does he go to school? He's at school, he has his head down. He's almost not even participating. So that's almost, again, a non-reaction to his surroundings. So he's kind of gotten into this habit of not reacting, maybe. And so what might that mean? I kind of go back to this idea of, I wonder who in that class knows about Sean's home life. I would bet not many people. And so again, I think a universal truth that I could pull out that I've been thinking about a lot is this idea of like, do we truly know one another? Okay? Do we truly know what people are going through? Do we know what they're going through on a daily basis? Probably not. Okay? Especially in a classroom. Okay? We don't. We don't. And so that's my universal truth, is when you really get down to it, don't judge people. You know, don't judge people. Don't say, oh, this person is bad or good or lazy or dumb or smart. You're labeling them. Don't label people because you have no idea what their life is like. Really, when you get down to it. You don't know what their day-to-day is. You might know some people more, right? But really, you don't live with that. Unless you live with that person, experience their life, and document them all the time, you have no real idea of what their life is like. I think that's my universal truth right now. So what did I do? I thought about the struggle. I thought about the reaction to the struggle. I thought about the social issue, which is that kind of that poverty. I didn't really mention that, but mom is gone, so that's a split family. That's a social issue. And I tried to pull a universal truth out of that. And so my universal truth that applies to everyone in a classroom, 99.9999% of the time, there's probably exceptions if your twin is in the class. But even then, even with a twin, do you spend 24 hours a day around your brother? No, because he's in a different class. But even if he was in your class, you wouldn't spend 24 hours a day with him. Do you know what I mean? So even then, you don't experience life exactly like your twin sibling. Okay, so even in that, that's the closest we get. Okay, that's the closest we get. But my universal truth is that within a classroom, at least, you don't truly know the people that are around. You don't know their struggles. You don't know their day-to-day life. So why bother judging them? Why do you think, how on earth could you possibly think you're better or worse and not just the same? Just one human child trying to figure out this great big ball of wax that we call a life. Okay, so why on earth would you be judging people? So that would be my universal truth. So this is what I would like you to do. Kind of go through that same process. Focus on a struggle. Focus on a character reacting to that struggle. Talk about that social issue that it represents. And is it possible? Can you try and start formulating and growing this idea of a universal truth that applies to anyone going through that struggle? Or even more. I didn't even specify on that little struggle. I specified for all people. That is a true universal truth. Okay? So there's two types of universal truths. One that apply to everyone going through that situation. And then another which is even broader. All humans. Okay? All humans that go to school. Alright, so try that work right now with your book club. Again, struggle. Reaction to struggle. Social issue. Can you find universal truth? Let's go. Your book, yes.
Struggle maybe would be trying because many people are getting drugs and all that because they like to but that cannot become no, guys, they can lie. It's not there,
so how do they react to lying to their parents? What is their reaction? So you're saying the struggle is lying.
Doing the opposite.
How did they react to it? What was their emotional reaction or physical reaction to lying to their
It
parents?
was like a fun.
Okay.
But then Tony disappeared.
No, like Tony felt really bad, like they
didn't care, but then Joel really bad because he knew he was lying to his father, and he raised it. They said like a very important phrase, just ignores it.
Okay, so we have two different reactions. Are you, who is the perspective? Is it a third person? It is third person.
At the beginning we thought it was a first person, but then we
Besides third person. So the third person narrator gave you two different perspectives, two different reactions to the struggle of lying to parents. Now you have one who shows no interest, doesn't care, and then another one who is like, I'm upset about it, but I'm going to ignore that feeling. What does that say about those two? What does that say about the struggle of lying to your parents?
that probably one doesn't know usually.
So the more you do it, the easier it gets. So the more you lie to someone, the easier it gets to lie to them. That might be, is that true for all lying?
For some people, yes.
Okay.
Like, for me, it's hard to lie sometimes. Well, like,
Depending on the situation or the person?
Like, the person, that I don't lie a lot, and when I lie very often, that I lie. Except but my brother, when he lies more.
Natural?
Me
He lies more?
And because sometimes he's like, he's just always a face like he's lying, so you don't know when.
So a universal truth may be, the more you do something, the easier it gets. Good or bad. Right? That's what you're talking about. You're saying that the more you do one thing, the easier it gets to do that thing. And that can be lying to your parents, it can be doing push-ups, it can be doing a backflip on a bike, it can be focusing on a mini lesson, it can be reading a book. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I agree! What's that? Just one way to do is, if we look at struggles, that gives us an idea about the social. We did talk about struggles. Sorry, just using struggles again. I didn't, because this one was about universal truth. We've already talked about struggles. I didn't want to overload your brain with two different, like a new strategy and talking about universal truth. High five! 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Alright, what was your universal truth you guys pulled out with some assistance from your very kind teacher?
That the more that you do something, the easier it gets.
The more you do something, the easier it gets. That is a universal truth. Anyone else have a chance for a universal truth? Yes, Cristobal.
That if you bother someone many times, even if he looks like it doesn't carry to him, it starts like building something inside him.
Ah, so the more you push someone, the greater the likelihood that they're going to push back.
No.
Kind of thing, or that something's happening.
If I say Gregorio Cuatro Ojos,
But he doesn't do anything. He's just like, eh.
yeah, and I continue. It's going to build up something in him until he finally reacts.
Okay. It's almost like the river in the Grand Canyon. A little at a time, and then creates big things. So these negative things, little things that you're doing, there's some big thing happening inside that person that we can't see.
I have another thing that I need to do. That we took many reading workshop projects, like the weekly planning, that my classmates.
I know.
Can we
Lisa.
continue?
You want to, yeah.
But if you want it, fight for it and get it.
You want it, you can fight for it and get it. Okay? Universal truth.
That you always have to do like the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's going to like turn you in,
So doing the right thing might have negative consequences.
no, like always doing the right thing, even though like let's say everybody's doing what? Like let's say everybody's playing Charlie Chaplin, something like that. And I don't like it, but they start saying like, if you don't play, you're going to be like the rechazado for clase, la gallina. And the thing is, like, you always have to do like the right thing.
Okay. Right. So always do the right thing. Huh? In the back, Charlotte's Web. You guys got anything? Universal truth?
No.
No? Okay. Is that it? Yeah?
Maybe that you being alone may change you in a way.
Being alone by yourself, not with others, can change people.
No friends, maybe.
Depressing.
Parents.
This is great. This is awesome. So loneliness, especially for a human, can be very, very damaging. I'm saying it's great because there's so many connections today. I'm just so super excited. What we're doing with Universal Truths too is generalizing. So we make a generalization about life or about things that apply in all things. So the more you do something, the easier it gets. It's a generalization. It holds true most of the time. Okay? Can we guarantee anything 100%? No. No, we can't. But a generalization means pretty much every time. Okay? 99% of the time. And so we're going to take that idea of generalization and we're going to go into math with it. Okay? But before we leave reading, this is another strategy that you should be doing in your books. Looking at those struggles, pulling out the social issues, thinking about universal truths. So really growing these ideas. Okay? Really focusing and growing your ideas.
Can you start putting those charts again?
I do. I went to print it today and the color printer wasn't working. It's a cacophony of errors that just really irritates me.
Can you start printing them again?
Yes, I do. Okay, so this was some of the calculations from yesterday. Alright? So these were the different fractions that people looked at. This is the amount of cards that we're able to make from that fraction of paper with 6 sheets of paper. And this would be a number sentence. Okay? So looking at that information, so 1/3, we can get 18 cards. 1/5, 30 cards. 1/2, 12 cards. 1/4, 24 cards. 1/6, 36 cards. We have 6 divided by a third, 6 divided by a fifth, 6 divided by a half, 6 divided by a quarter, 6 divided by a sixth. 18, 30, 12, 24, 36. Can you make a generalization about whole numbers being divided by unit fractions? Can you make it? Do you have a theory? Just take a moment to think. You're going to have a moment to think. You're going to have a moment to talk to your book club or people sitting around you about it. And then we'll try and pull out some generalizations. So this would require looking at the numbers and thinking about it, which is what we're going to be talking about later. The more you do something, the easier it gets. Struggle is worthy. Your brain is a muscle. You don't use it, it gets flabby. It does. Just like any other muscle you got. You don't use it, it gets weak. You use it, it gets strong. Alright, so talk to someone sitting next to you or your group. What are some patterns that you see with these number sentences or these equations? What are some generalizations you can make? Alright, 3, 1, 0. Let's first do observations. So what do you observe? So we don't even have to get to the theoretical generalization part. What do you notice when you look at this stuff? Elisa?
The numbers are equal and they are
they're even. All of our answers are even.
There are factors. I have one that is
They're all from the table of 6. Table of 6. What do you mean?
They're all factors of 6. 6 times 3, 18.
These are all? Like the answers, or?
No, number 6. They're from the table of 6. But they are factors of 6.
What are factors of 6?
The number of cards that you can make. The multiples of 6.
Oh, I don't see 6 times 3.
They are the multiples of 6.
What are the answers are multiples of 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the number of cards that you
The answers are total? Alright, running out of room for observations. Any generalizations? What? Gentlemen? A generalization is something that's going to help you. It's not even going to not even help you right now. It's going to help you further on in your life. The more fundamental knowledge that you can have, the more you can use it. I'll give you a quick anecdote. I was sitting there, I was like, man, I would love to make a fruit salad. A lot of times when I make a fruit salad, like the fruit's not very good the next day.
That's a generation.
So then I was like, I wonder if there's a way to save the fruit salad a longer period of time. And I thought to myself, well, heck, I could Google it and find out factually what the steps I need to do are to save my fruit salad longer, right? However, okay, we're going to end this because we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it probably later. These are the truths. You'll be able to.
Then you need numbers.
You'll be able to.
That is a generalization.
Let's list some truths that I know. And because I know these truths, and I hope to pass them on to you all, I have to live with this stuff and become upset on a daily basis because I don't know how to help you. Let me repeat, I do not know. And I know that we all need to figure out what this is. Okay? Because right now I think I'm doing the most I can do. And now I need everyone. I need all of you. It's the same as getting hit when you guys do that to me. I want you to know that. When you reject someone, which is not looking at them in the eyes, which is if they ask you to play with them and you turn away, it's the same as punching them in the face. The brain has no difference. It does not understand the difference. The same area activates. So if you wouldn't punch someone, if you wouldn't smack them in the face, you are doing that when you do not pay attention, when someone bids, so they offer you something, they're like, hey, this is important, and you just look down on the floor, or you turn away, or you answer with something else. It's the equivalent of smacking someone in the face. The equivalent. Your brain knows no difference between the two things. It's the same area of the brain. Okay? And that's when people feel like they do not belong. They feel like they do not belong to the group. And if they don't feel like they don't belong, they can't perform at the best level. I don't feel like I belong a lot of times the way I'm treated certain times. I'm not going to go kill myself about it. So no, I think that's an overgeneralization.
But there is some people that do.
Yes, suicide is a problem.
Because they have mind illness.
Right? And yes, some of that comes from the mental abuse people get by being turned down all the time.
Bully.
Yeah. Well, that's not even bullying. Right? Someone comes up to you to say something, you just look on the ground. Are you bullying them? Is someone going to do anything? Probably not. You're being kind of not very a kind human being.
Being told things that you don't like.
Well, yeah, but that's not even the conversation right here. They're not telling me anything I don't like. Right? They're not being overtly mean to me. But they are saying that what I say does not count. And that you're not interested in it at all. Like, that's what that behavior means. Okay? So, these are some truths that I know. What?
I wasn't.
Someone move them.
I wasn't.
Okay? Learning is best when it requires struggle. That's a lot of times why I won't answer your questions. It requires no effort on your part to ask me a question and me answer it. None. And you probably won't connect it to other facts, figures, making your own generalizations, and being smarter at the end of the day for it. Just understanding facts gets you nowhere. Okay, you have to do some work with it. You have to make effort. It's hard. Like learning is hard. To really push yourself and learn something is a difficult thing. Okay, we need other people. We are social beings. That's how we have survived for so long as a species, and why we rose to the top of the planet is because of the way we work with each other. Okay, so we need people in order to learn to the best of our abilities. That's why you said being alone sucks. Being alone does have negative effects to people. The worst thing in the world you can do to a human being is put them in solitary confinement.
Isolation.
In isolation. That is the yes. The other one is making them do a task they know is pointless. Okay? So, for example, in concentration camps, what the Nazis had the Jews do was they had a 50-pound bag of salt that was wet. They had to pick up the bag of salt, carry it across the other side, put it down, and then pick it up, carry it across the side, and then put it back down again. That is evil. Huh? That's evil, because they know there was no point to the work that they were doing. So when there is no point to what you're doing, it's just plain evil. Okay? When you purposely make people do something that has no point to it, and you know it has no point, that is not good. Okay? So we need other people. Number 3. I'm using a very general you. Okay? You. It's not 100%. Very general. The majority. Here, let's see this.
When we said those in the concentration camps, there was different types. Like ones were like to test drugs on Jews.
Yep, there was some that were just for killing. There was some to
were to experiment with them, and ones were to work like to put them to work, like making planes and things for the Nazi army.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They really put them to work to do useless things.
Yes. That was actually that was Auschwitz, the worst one. And the sign on the top of Auschwitz said, "Work will set you free," which is just even worse and more evil if you think about it. There was a line between good and evil. There is actual evil, and the worst of it is when it's done on purpose. Because some people don't have a choice in the matter, and other people do. So you have to figure that out. Is the person actually choosing to do that? And the Nazis chose to do that. They systematically chose it. They made a plan. It was on paper. Like that's
the final solution.
That's jacked up. All right, but the majority of you cannot not talk. All right, you're incapable of it. Okay, for any substantial period of time.
Well, Rachel can do it.
But Rachel is a picture on character.
No, like I just.
This is my anecdote. Yesterday, I said you can write about whatever you want. I go out with a book club. People are walking around. People are talking. There's people trying to work, and they're like looking at everybody else, going, "Good Lord." A reading workshop was a complete train wreck because of the amount of talking. The other time, I asked people to do some work. They didn't even do it. They were just up walking around talking to people. You were obsessed and habitized chatting about God knows what. But it sure is interfering with this for everyone. Even if I'm not participating in this, if I got two people blabbing on about who knows what, it's going to interfere with my learning. Because my brain, in order to learn better, needs this. So we need silence for a period of time in order for us to truly struggle with concepts. We then need to be able to talk to people. That's why at the end of workshops, what do? We talk to people about our learning. There is science and reason behind everything that we do. Okay, that's why you have partners. That's why you have book clubs, to support one another in this very difficult work that we're doing that requires thought. To generalize, that's a tricky thing. That's thinking abstractly. You're pushing the boundaries of your brain at 10, 11 years old to be able to think abstractly. Very, very difficult. It's the very first start of it.
No, I was like reading.
Okay.
But I like, what is like the summary of a universal truth?
Universal truth is that it's something true that applies to almost all people, or almost all things. So if you put no effort into something, you will not accomplish anything, is a universal truth. Okay? The more we chat about social stuff when we're supposed to be working, the less quality work we will do. Reading your informational writing, some of us are trying to do thinking. Some of us are just reporting facts. And I think that's the thing, is that we can do work while we're talking, but it's not very good work. And we're really, as friends, not supporting one another in helping people get better at their jobs. And your job is learning. Yes, sir?
That connects to the thing that you said before, that like you cannot multitask.
Right. You can't. Your brain switches between the two activities. You do both worse than you could by just focusing on one. So you would do a much better job of being a friend if you were doing so outside of workshop. Yes?
So, Mr. Lad, when you read and you're talking with somebody like yesterday, sometimes there's no silence because the music, so sometimes this can be
Okay. Well, if I talk to people who can be outside, that's fine. I mean, I think that would be distracting for people too. But I also... No, I'm making a point. Like when I conference with people, this is the level I try to stay at. A lot of us struggle with decibel in here. I don't know why. I really don't. I don't know if it's just a cultural thing. I have no idea. Just are Colombian kids louder than other guys? I have no idea. All right? I have no idea. Or you just have no sense of the noise coming out of your mouth. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I haven't studied it. But I can't tell you, like in a Stuco meeting, I have a hit. The incredible amount of noise that some of the kids make is incredible. It's just shouting at each other. And so that's something too. So, man, this went long. This is what I'm going to have you do. We'll revisit some of this, and you are going to write down some ideas about what we are going to do. Because we can say, oh, this is how we're going to react. But we actually need to start reacting or responding to people when they start blabbing at us about God knows what. And quite frankly, argue with me. Tell me why you deserve to talk about whatever you want to talk about during independent reading time. Please argue with me about it. I would love to know. I want to understand. I really do. And I started thinking about what solutions can we have. Because I have some solutions in my mind, but again, if I implement it, it's not going to matter. What? No?
Mr. Larso, in writing workshop, what are we going to have?
Writing, you'll be working with that triad you had, reading through your writing and trying to figure out what you're going to be, what you're good at, what you're not, like what your struggles are. What are you an expert in and what are you not?
Are we going to start a second topic in writing?
We'll get there.
Yes.
Mr. Light, battle writing, can we continue with the book we started?
We'll talk about it. No. No.
Oh.
Recess. Fine.
Miguel, come here.
Oh, wait. Actually, sorry. No. Get back. We have 1 minute, and we didn't do the generalizations. Sorry. Because Gabriel wanted to share his. So I think that's important. We did. It's not officially 10:30 yet, so we have 2 minutes. We can do it. Gabriel, what's your generalization about fraction?
Well, about that, dividing fractions,
Yeah.
it's like multiplication. If you say like 6,
then divided into 1/6 is like 6 times 6. That is equal to 36.
So what is it that's like multiplication?
And
When I divide by a fraction,
You get the same answer as a multiplication.
how else can we say that? Even more general. I'm sorry, because you're not making any noise. You were like, you were like,
I think maybe it could be that math is connected.
math is connected, okay, that's a generalization.
What
Yeah.
about
Santiago, you were making less noise.
so I have the same idea as Gabriel. My generalization, basically the whole number times the denominator equals the correct answer.
Okay, that's more of a okay, so here, this is not what this is what. So do you think then 6 divided by 3/4 equals 24?
No.
No. So I disproved your generalization. There is a generalization that we can make about when we divide with fractions, something happens. Christopher.
That maybe the number can be. We have two. My group has two. One that you need numbers for doing math.
Okay. Yes.
And the
Do
other
you?
one-
Can we go?
That's math. Disproved.
Can we go? Explode.
I know.
How could you not be interested in this? Beyond me.
If you know the multiplication part, change the position.
When dividing with a fraction less than 1. So I have a whole number. I'm dividing it by a fraction less than 1. What happens?
You get a bigger number.
Get a bigger number. That's generalization. Carol,
Let's get our
19. We proved it. When we divide with a fraction, we get a bigger number. We're good at that. But again, that seems more like a trick than a generalization. Yeah.
And now go with them.
Cool.
Are you going to stay in here?
I will be in here, yes.
And may I go with them?